Hello, today we will be discussing the transmission, symptoms, and treatments of the neurotropic rabies virus. You may be wondering, what is the rabies virus? Well, let's zoom in. The rabies virus is part of the family Rhabdoviridae and genus Lysovirus. The rabies virus is an ancient disease. The rabies is a viral zoonosis that is transmitted from animals to humans. The World Health Organization estimates that annually 60,000 people die worldwide from the rabies virus, predominantly from Asia and Africa, which this map depicts. This map was received from the World Health Organization website. The structure of the rabies virus follows. It's an RNA virus and bullet-shaped, approximately 180 nanometers long and 75 nanometers wide. The rabies genome includes 5 proteins: nucleoproteins, phosphoproteins, matrix proteins, glycoproteins, and polymerase. It's a helical ribonucleoprotein core, RNP. The glycoprotein forms approximately 400 trimeric spikes found all on the outside of the rabies virus. Now, let's discuss the transmission of rabies virus. The transmission of the rabies virus follows: 1. A bite transmission. Human infection typically occurs as a result of a transdermal bite from a rabid animal, or 2. Non-biting transmission. Scratches from the rabid animal or saliva of the rabid animal comes into contact with the victim's mucous membrane or an open sore. So let's pretend a person's arm was scratched by a rabid animal. That would allow the virus to enter and start to replicate. Replication follows by entering into the cell, the virus. Once it enters into the cell, its envelope is shredded and it replicates its genome. And once it replicates its genome in certain 5 structural proteins, it reassembles into more rabies virus and then exits the cell and infects more cells. Entry of the rabies virus. After an infection, the rabies virus replicates and bypasses the host immune system. Once the virus has replicated, it binds to acetylcholine receptor and travels along the nervous cell axon up until it has easy access to the central nervous system. It then can be accessed by the brain. Subsequently, it causes rapid acute inflammation and causing chronic infection. As one can see in this depiction, after infection bite, the virus multiples locally in the myocytes from weeks to months. The virus binds to acetylcholine receptors. Then the virus travels within the axon in peripheral nerves to the central nervous system. Replication in the motor neurons of the spinal cord and the local dorsal root ganglia, and rapid ascent to the brain. Infection of the brain neurons occurs, and once that happens, the virus can spread along the nerves to saliva glands, skin, cornea, and other organs. 2 forms of rabies are distinguished. First is furious, the most common type. 75 to 80% of rabies are this type. Rabid animals have a very aggressive behavior, transmitted from rabid dogs. In a study with skunks infected with a common virus, Or with rabies, the results show that rabies is linked to an infection in the limbic system neuron and other regions which may be involved in the behavioral changes infected. The second type of form is paralytic, which is seen 20 to 25% of the time. It's also called dumb rabies because the animal seems very docile. Now let's talk about the symptoms. Let's talk about symptoms. Now this is going to be the subsequent order of symptoms someone will have once they are infected. First, there's an incubation period, will last 20 to 90 days, but it has been noted that it could last up to years, this replication stage. First symptoms, the early symptoms, which can be fever, headache, last 2 to 10 days. First neurological sign, an acute neurological phase like anxiety, confusion can last 2 to 7 days. A coma symptom can last 0 to 14 days, and unfortunately the last symptom is death. Let's talk about these symptoms. Fever and headache, throat spasms, anxiety, confusion, and hallucinations, pain and abnormal feelings at the wound, coma, and sadly death. Now, treatment. The first rabies virus was developed by Louis Pasteur in 1885. Current post-exposure treatment for someone who has been bitten follows 3 stages: cleaning the wounds, administering rabies immunoglobulins, a concoction of antibodies, and third, administering a course of the rabies vaccine multiple times, usually 5 dosages. There are cell culture vaccines, human diploid cell vaccines, purified chick embryo vaccines, most common, and purified vero cell rabies vaccine. Purified duck embryo vaccines are no longer commonly used. So if you have never been exposed to rabies, you will get 5 dosage of the vaccine on day 0, 3, 7, 14, and 28. Now the research that's going into rabies vaccine currently follows. So they're trying to prevent rabies virus from spreading with vaccinating wild animals before they actually get rabies virus by giving them a vaccine that has surface antigen genes VVT-GGRAB. A second way is using human monoclonal antibodies MAB that can replace rabies immune globulin used in post-exposure treatments. A third way is a potential post-exposure treatment using nanobodies, which are promising in mouse models who have had complete recovery or prolonged survival once infected. The fourth approach is a genetic approach using 5 genes the rabies virus has and looking for genetic suppressors of these 5 genes. Nucleocapsid protein gene N and phosphoprotein gene P acts as an inhibitor of the rabies virus replication seen in the lab. So these are very promising type of research we've seen for rabies virus and new ways of post-exposure treatment. So now let's talk about the summary of everything we've learned. The rabies virus follows. It's a zoonosis virus. Infection occurs by transdermal bite or scratch from an infected animal. Dogs are the principal vector of rabies to humans in Africa and Asia. Rabies is usually fatal following a clinical symptom. Rabies is present around the world and greater than 3 billion people are at risk of infection. The World Health Organization estimates annually 61,000 people die from rabies. There are 2 active immunization strategies available to prevent rabies in humans: pre-exposure vaccination and post-exposure, which include vaccination by cell culture rabies vaccine, which provide active immunization and protection, also with the concoction of immunoglobulins. I want to thank you for taking your time to watch my video. I hope you learned something about rabies virus. Leave a comment in the section below and subscribe. Thank you.